You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Good morning, this is the Weekend Sports Buzz. I am Brad Steen filling in once again for Tyler Bloyd, who is somewhere in a tree. Alongside to my right is Kelly Patrick. Kelly, how you doing this morning?
Doing terrific. How you doing, Brad?
Tired, but we're getting through it.
Yep.
Got a great show today for this Sunday morning. Antoine Banks, he will be joining us at 11:30. He is the head basketball coach down at Kentucky State. We also have Farrell Elliott, as usual, giving us our fantasy football talk for the week. Got a lot of things to cover today, and we've got obviously some Kentucky talk we can talk about. Louisville, all that happened yesterday.
Yeah, Louisville lost.
I mean, Mark and I yesterday we talked about it. That might happen, and it did, and it happened in almost a rout fashion.
You want to talk about the Louisville loss?
We can talk about the Louisville loss.
Did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it. It was a little hard to keep my eyes open, but from the parts that I saw, it looked like Louisville was asleep the entire game.
Yeah, they didn't really show up defensively. Special teams were very poor, and the offense wasn't able to make up for the difference. You know, Syracuse came out and scored a lot of points early. The bottom line is it was a tough road game, as bad as you want to say Syracuse is, and you can make a case that they are. I mean, it was a conference road game. Louisville's defense sucks. Their special team sucks. I mean, I hate to be negative, but that's just kind of how it is. I'm still confident Teddy Bridgewater's the man. He made one mistake right at the end when they were trying to stage a dramatic comeback, but Teddy had an okay game still, and overall, the offense, I don't think, is what really screwed the game up. They played very conservative, kind of bend but don't break type defense, and it just kind of bit them. They got blown out. Right.
I don't know if this was really a question right off the bat, but I mean I know Teddy was in the possibilities of talking in the talk of Heisman, the Heisman talk. Do you think that game affected him, or?
Yeah, I think that how your team does overall does impact that. Yeah, I really do. So I don't think that Teddy will even be, ended up in the top 5, or I don't know, maybe top 10, because he's still having a great season statistically. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions yesterday. He was 36 of 49 for 424 yards. So I mean, statistically, he
played a great game statistically, but when it comes down to it, they didn't put the ball in the end zone enough.
Yeah, they did not. they got blown out. They've got the.
It's tough, and on top of that, Syracuse is still fighting for a bowl bid, and now they have Missouri and Temple left. So this win, really, they needed the game against Louisville really bad in order to make themselves bowl eligible because of the final schedule they have. If they were to lose that game, then they would have had to beat Missouri at Missouri and then go into Temple and beat them. Reading Twitter yesterday, I saw a lot of Cards fans were upset. Kelly, on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset were you yesterday?
I wasn't that upset because and this upsets a lot of my Cards fans buddies. I expected us to lose. I actually predicted that we would lose yesterday. I also predicted we'd lose before the Pittsburgh game, full disclosure. So I thought that we would lose 1 or 2 games at least, even up till last week. I've continued to say that. I would still like for us to maybe, win our next 2 games, go play well in a bowl, win the Big East. I would be very happy with that. The notion that we would have a perfect season, that's out the window, obviously. So, I mean, that magical season where we go and we win the Orange Bowl or maybe even a different bowl, and then we get propelled into the Big 12 and everybody's happy and we keep Charlie Strong, and that is out the window now. So, I mean, you can make a case that Louisville needed to go undefeated this year, and that by losing, that they screwed up their chances of going to a the conference that they want to, and that this is a doomsday scenario.
I don't think it necessarily screws up the chances that they had going into a conference. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's still going to be teams or conferences out there that are going to look at a Louisville team that went, assuming they win the next 2 games, 11-1 in the conference, and they also made, for example, the Orange Bowl. Mm-hmm. They're still going to look at that, and they're still going to say, oh well, this is a good, solid football team that Charlie Strong has built. Here's an invitation. Think about it. Get back to us in a week.
Yeah, I mean, the football program is on an uptick. They're 9-1. 9-1 is a hell of a record. Mm-hmm. I don't care how weak the schedule is.
Better than 1-9.
9-1's better than 1-9.
Yeah, and look at it this way. Alabama lost yesterday.
Yep.
That was a. Did you end up watching that
game? I did, actually. I didn't see the exact very end play, but I watched the majority of the game. Yeah.
It was a wild game. Johnny Football.
He's good.
He's really damn good. Do you think that game yesterday kind of propelled him into the Heisman talk at all?
I don't know. That's a good question. Are they talking about that? In the Twitter world, is that legitimate talk?
I mean, when you follow a lot of people that cover sports for a living, you could see that that might be a case,
Yeah, I mean, he was very impressive. The way he would scramble around, keep the play alive, and then a short little pass, that's frustrating for a defense. And I don't care how good Alabama's defense is overall. They couldn't stop him. He was very impressive.
And I think that was something that could have really, if Alabama was going to lose, they were going to lose to a team like that, a team that could get up and down the field, runs the no-huddle offense. I remember the 2 broadcasters yesterday saying during practice, Alabama struggled with that hurry-up offense. They said during one practice they probably made about 8 to 12 mental errors. So that tells me if you're going to beat Alabama, you've got to get a first down, and keep rolling. Man, you can't get in the huddle because they'll catch up to you. If you want to give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line, 502-384-1450, or you can shoot us, but don't shoot us. Shoot us a text on the Lotus Gunworks text line, 502-414-1450. Once again, I'm Brad Steen filling in for Tyler Bloyd, Kelly Patrick. Louisville plays today in basketball.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock against the Manhattan Jaspers. I think that's their nickname. You excited for the Cardinal season?
Very much so, yeah.
What do you think? Who's going to be the star today?
For Louisville.
Who's going to be the guy that's going to take over on the offense?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Who will lead Louisville in scoring, maybe?
Possibly.
Let me think. I don't know.
That's a good question. While you think of that, here's the starting lineups. You can check it out on BleacherReport.com. Our very own John Hancock wrote a very nice piece. Louisville, it looks like they're going with Gorgie Jang, Montrezl Harrell, Luke Hancock, Russ Smith, and Peyton Siva. I'd like to think that Montrezl Harrell is going to be your guy.
To lead us in scoring. It could happen.
I mean, I watched a little bit of some of Louisville's preseason games, and he looked very, very strong. He looked like somebody that might actually give Kentucky some problems down low. The matchup against Manhattan, I guess one of the things that you've got to stop is George Beeman. He was the key to the Jaspers last season. According to Hancock, he said that he averaged 19 points a game, 5.6 rebounds, and 2 assists a game, and he led the team with 35 three-pointers with a percentage of 42.2%. So it looks like if you stop this Beeman character, you're going to pull out a very handed victory.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think the leading scorer for today will be Russ Smith. Because he'll shoot a lot.
What? Oh, well, I mean, if you're going to shoot a lot, more times than not, if you're a good shooter, you're going to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, so I think Russ will have a big game. I'm predicting he'll maybe have 3 or 4 steals.
What do you think about this Luke Hancock guy? No relation to John, obviously, but he's a transfer from George Mason. I've heard some good things about him. What do you think about him?
I think athletically, first off, he came in with a lot of praise. Pitino said last year that Pitino said he was the best player on the team while he was sitting out the year that he had to for his transfer requirements. What I've seen of him in the scrimmages thus far is that he's a smart player. Athletically, I don't know. As far as defense, I don't know how he's going to stack up with running around and keeping up with the small forward from the other team as much as he'll need to. So I don't know. I like him. I like that he's a good passer. I saw one play in particular sticks out to me from the first red-white scrimmage that I watched, where he got the ball at about the top of the key, and he did like a no-look, amazing alley-oop pass to Shane.
Yeah.
And he's a good passer, and that's great. That helps your shooting.
In anything, you're like I told Mark yesterday, you're going to get a good defensive team with Patino.
Yeah.
He's a defensive first guy, much like Calipari, or Calipari, excuse me. But when Patino asked Jim Loranga, who's now the head coach at Miami, the U, Loranga said, with 5 seconds to go in the game, if you have to get the ball inbounds against a press, have him inbound it. Mm-hmm. If you need somebody to take a shot, have him take the shot. If you need somebody to make the play, have him make the play. If you need somebody to steal a rebound, he'll make it. So it sounds like this guy's a 5-tool player. He's going to be. I think he'll come in and probably give a lot of key minutes and a lot of quality minutes too for this Louisville Cardinal team. With that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the Kentucky game.
I watched it. Yep.
I'm glad you watched it because I watched a lot of it too, and I want to hear from a Louisville's perspective, from a Kelly Patrick Louisville perspective. What did you think about this young, inexperienced team?
I thought that they were young and inexperienced. Is basically what I thought. I think Poitras didn't impress me as much as I would have expected. I don't know if it seems to maybe be an effort thing with him. My buddy said that Cal has kind of been on him for effort from day one. So I don't know if he's maybe a Terrence Jones 2.0, which isn't a bad thing.
Well, you saw how Terrence turned out to be in his sophomore year.
Yeah, and at times during his freshman year too. So I mean, Terrence is a very talented guy. I think Poitras is also, and this is game one. But overall, I think that they're a very inexperienced team, a lot of talent. I know Julius Mays and Ryan Harrow both played through some ailments, but I didn't take a bunch positive away from it. But it's the first game of the season. What do you think?
There were some positives and there were some negatives too. There were a lot. I think sometimes the negative almost outweighed the positive. The first thing that I thought they did in the first half, because I'll break it down by halves. The first thing I thought they did in the first half was I thought they shot the ball pretty well. Wilcher, 19 points, just bombing it away from three. I was reading Twitter from some of the people that were at the games, and some of the Maryland fans were saying that the slow white kid is basically beating us right now, which was the case in the first half. I thought they ran their offense better. They ran the offense better than I expected. I thought they were going to have some points where they really struggled to kind of mesh and find out where everyone is on the court, but that'll come with time, obviously. I thought they also had some stretches where they flashed just brilliance of what this team could be. There was a time where they went on a big run to kind of pull out ahead by 15 points, and then they kind of just relaxed a little bit. I thought the defense was really rough, transitioning into some of the things that I thought they could have improved on. In the first half, they gave Maryland 19 offensive rebounds. But thankfully, thanks to the Terps' terrible shooting, they couldn't capitalize. But the offensive rebounding in general needs to get better. I thought they didn't run back on defense very well in the first half. That allowed to have the big guy, what's his name, Alex Lynn. I believe that was his name.
He's big. You're right.
He was a big guy. He allowed him. I mean, there was a couple times where Cauley Stein and Noel were jogging back and forth down the court, and Lynn was beating them down the court. Let's see what else.
Yeah, he had 23 points and 12 rebounds.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an inexperienced couple guys in the post for Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So.
And to your point, I thought there were some points on offense. They seemed to force the issue, especially Poitras. He got the ball, he would try and make his own shot, create his own shot, instead of looking for someone who could have had a better shot. But you have to think these kids are, a couple weeks ago they were still in high school. Now it's Calipari's job, as usual, to get this team to buy in to the team effort. So once they do, this team is going to be impossible to beat. I think.
You think they'll be that good? You think they have the potential to Final Four type team?
I don't. It's too early to say. It's too early to say. Talk to me in about January.
Okay.
When we're getting, towards the end of SEC play.
Do you see Jared Polson continuing to contribute? I know it sounds like a joke. But he looked good.
Does sound
he didn't
like
look bad.
It does sound like a joke, and
I joked about it before the game that he was going to play. I got a big kick out of it. Jared Polson is going to play. I said that as much as I could, and he came out and he played well.
Well, Cal said that he was going to get some minutes in this game. I thought he played when he came into the game. I'm thinking, what? We're not up 40 points, but I thought he played very well. I would give him the MVP of the game almost.
0 turnovers, 3 assists, 10 points,
and he made some plays that I think totally kept Kentucky I don't want to say in control, but like together. Especially, I remember, I think Noel was at the line, missed both foul shots. Polson stole the ball off the rebound, laid it in. Kentucky got 2 points, and then there was the play at the end of the game where they're only up 1. It's Polson gets the ball, gets fouled, sinks 2 foul shots, boom, we win the game. I thought Wiltshire played very well. I thought there were some points where Kentucky needed a basket, and they don't have that guy yet, but I thought Wiltshire made a very strong case that he was one of those guys you could go to. But we have got to get to a break. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. I'm Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Boyd. This is Kelly Patrick. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Kelly Patrick. Brad Steen filling in for our man Tyler Boyd, who is out trying to get a deer today, I think. He said he was going to get a doe, I believe, for some eating.
I'm pretty sure I just broke my headphones.
That's okay. You can hold them.
They're bent somehow, but that's all right.
First segment there, we got to talk a little bit about Louisville and the end to their perfect season. Not perfect,
boo-hoo,
but undefeated season. Also got into a little bit of Kentucky
I
and
do want to
ask you.
I do want to ask you a quick question.
Okay.
Before we get into some of the things that I know that we talked about during the break.
All right.
Do you think the real Louisville showed up yesterday? Like, we are who they thought they were?
Yeah, I do, actually. Unfortunately, I think that our defense sucks.
Really? Why do you say that?
I haven't seen anything this year other than a few select plays every game to convince me that we have a very good defense.
And Charlie Strong
yeah,
he's a defensive guy.
I think losing Greg Scruggs, who's in the NFL playing for the Seahawks, losing Dexter Heyman off the team hurt the team more than we thought they would. It's tough to lose guys like that who are in the middle, or are making the tackles for you. You just got to have guys out there who are willing to go out and tackle somebody, and we're just not very good at that right now. Our coverage is very suspect also. I mean,
do you think the weather helped them in some of those games? Like, for instance, the Southern Miss game where they were literally playing football on a lake.
Yeah.
Do you think that almost helped Louisville then?
I don't know. I don't think Southern Miss that great of a team.
Well, yeah,
I didn't think the defense looked that great in that game either. So I mean, I hate to be negative Nancy, but
all right,
you can call me Negative Nancy. Go for it.
Negative Nancy.
I don't think our defense is very good. If anyone has a problem with that, call in 502-384-1450.
Yeah, call in and argue with Kelly because I am completely staying out of that one. But I'll back you up, Kelly, because I like you. You're a good guy.
You won't argue with me and take the stance that Louisville's defense is amazing?
No, listen, I've sat through Kentucky football this year.
Yeah.
I've seen bad defense. I think Louisville's is better than Kentucky.
Okay, I can go with that.
I'm comparing Kentucky and Louisville football, for God's sakes. But I know there were some things that you wanted to talk about. You want to talk about the possibility of Bobby Petrino coming to Kentucky.
I did.
Would you give the yay or nay on that?
I would give a big old fat yay. I would say Bobby Petrino would be, in my opinion, a great hire. He has questionable integrity. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not the most popular guy among any fan bases. Mm-hmm. He's pretty much burned every bridge he's had out there. Mm-hmm. But he would come in and he would win. And then you could make a case, if he was there, that you have maybe the best offensive mind in all of college football at Kentucky. I think Larry Vaught had a very interesting article that he wrote last night about it's Vaught's views. Would Petrino be a good or bad hire for Kentucky? He references a lot of things within it. Mm-hmm. Among them, he talks about Joe B. Hall. Joe B. Hall's son-in-law, let's see what his name is. Forget the name of it. But his son-in-law was an assistant to Petrino for many years. He followed him to the Atlanta Falcons. And Joe B. Hall, who, you know, he's kind of
he's a legend inside the Kentucky basketball world.
And in the Kentucky basketball world is everything.
You're right.
So he won a national championship as the head coach. He has quite a bit of pull, I'd say.
Yeah, a little bit.
He went on a long tangent defending his man Bobby Petrino, which I don't doubt some of this. I mean, Petrino, has he made good decisions? No. Has he made himself look like an idiot? Yes. Mm-hmm. But he goes in, he explains that while he was at Louisville, Petrino wasn't actually actively trying to get out of there. Like it's the common perception is. He says that Auburn, where he was an offensive coordinator at, or he was an assistant coach at, they flew into Southern Indiana without Petrino knowing about it, and they basically forced him to talk to him. Somehow the press got wind of that, and it was blown into a bigger deal than maybe it should have been. But the bottom line is Joe B. Hall, a Kentucky basketball national championship head coach, is apparently on the bandwagon for bring Petrino into Kentucky. What do you think of that?
I am not a Petrino fan at all. I think I know, should Kentucky make a move on Petrino? Maybe. Will they? Probably not.
Okay.
I don't see Barnhart doing that. Barnhart looks for the kind of guys that are integral. He wants guys like, someone like a Rich Brooks, like a Joker Phillips, who are nice people who are going to get out in the community, almost like a John Calipari, for instance. Somebody who's you can laugh all you want, but it's almost like an ambassador to the program.
Anybody can be that when they're there.
Well, yeah, but Petrino's a jerk.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. You just said he burned every bridge where he's gone. Now,
you could make a case that Calipari had burned every bridge he had went before he came to Kentucky, right?
No.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Okay. He put programs on.
Marcus Camby took money from an agent. That has absolutely nothing to do with John Calipari.
Okay.
Derrick Rose took an SAT.
Did you feel this way before Calipari? This is a whole different tangent. We don't have to go down this road, but did you feel this way before Cal was hired? Or did it change once he was hired?
I'll admit I wasn't the biggest fan of Calipari, but I knew he won games, whether that be quote unquote cheating or not. He got guys like I'm seeing now, young guys, to buy into his style of defense and offensive styles, and look where they're all playing now. They're playing in the NBA.
I'm certainly not suggesting that Calipari is anything short of the best college basketball coach going right now in the country. I'm saying he had questionable issues. I'm not.
Everybody has questionable issues.
Okay,
everybody does.
Okay.
I mean, should we go to Porcini's? For God's sakes, do we need to go down that road?
All I'm saying is Cal had a rough reputation. It was surprising to a lot.
He had a rough reputation because of the media. Like Pete Thamel, who continually tries to bring down the Kentucky basketball program. Okay. And if you want to talk about that, we can talk about Shabazz Muhammad, who is ruled athletically ineligible for receiving impermissible benefits.
But I'm talking about why would you not want a coach who's going to come to Kentucky who's going to win?
I'm not denying the fact that Petrino can win,
and he would be possibly a very good hire.
He would be a very good hire. But I don't think, and I know a lot of fans are saying, "We'll bring him in. Get him the motorcycle. We'll, might as well." Is that what it's come to? You want a jerk for a football just a guy that has burned bridges, and especially with the possibility of Auburn and Tennessee and possibly Arkansas at the end of the year, all those jobs opening up. Now I know Arkansas probably will not contact him, but for the sake of this argument, I'm saying that I think if Petrino, I said this yesterday. If you're Petrino, put yourself in Petrino's shoes. If I had the possibility of going to an Auburn or Tennessee, someone who schools who put money into the football program, you have a loyal fan base who will show up to games no matter how terrible you are.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to take that, or do I want to be second fiddle to the basketball team in Lexington?
That's fair.
It's an interesting conundrum that Barnhart has got himself.
It is. You could, I could play devil's advocate and say, there's no better opportunity to come in and be the knight in shining armor after a team wins one game. I mean, maybe they'll beat Samford, so they'll win 2.
I hope they beat.
So
Samford.
They'll go 2-10. Petrino could come in next year if he wins 4 games, or he wins 6 games. I mean, it's progress. I mean, Auburn. Yeah, that stuff's and Petrino's not afraid of going into a hot seat or a pressure cooker.
Yeah,
obviously, I don't think, because he's that type of coach. He comes in and he wins.
And talking with people at the tailgates that I've gone to when I've gone to cover some of the games this year, talking to them, they are okay with a 6-6, a 7-5 season. We know as Kentucky fans, we're not going to go to a BCS or win an SEC championship anytime soon. If you give us a 6-6, 7-5 season, I'm burning down my couch. I don't care. It's a step in the right direction.
I think that's it's proven though. That's a tough thing to do even, right? You got to really be on your game with literally the toughest schedule in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what's their schedule ranked? 1 or 2?
It's up there.
So, I mean, you can't just kind of say, well, we'll get a gentleman and we'll get 6. I don't think you can do that. I don't think that you can get 6 wins out of just going, we'll hire the nice guy.
I'm not saying go.
You got to go cutthroat. You got to get somebody who's going to come in, be a prick. If somebody's cell phone rings in a meeting, he's going to cuss them. I'd be all for the hire as a Kentucky. I'm not a Kentucky fan, so it's easier for me to say.
Well, it's easier for you to say.
I'll put it this way, and I'll go out on a limb even, and I'll say if Charlie Strong accepted the let's say a month from now, Charlie Strong accepts the Auburn job. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Bring Petrino back to Louisville.
Really?
Yep, he's gonna win, and I like watching teams that win.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think you are with the majority of us that like to watch teams win.
It makes everything so much better. There was a lot of Kentucky fans, whether they'll admit it now or not, who questioned the Calipari hire. And they're winning. Everything's great. Happy times. High fives all around. Everybody's happy. So if you can win and you can get somebody to come in and win, winning cures everything.
You're right. I'm not going to argue that. There were a couple guys that have been mentioned as the lead candidates.
Okay, who do you got?
This was a story that was published by Mark Story, which
Lexington Herald, right?
Which is a great name for a
writer.
He listed a bunch of names that I've already crossed off the list because time has passed since this was actually released a week ago. Neil Brown, he has been mentioned as possibly one of the top 3 candidates to take over this Kentucky football program. He was an ex-UK wideout. He lettered in 1998 and 2000, and he's now the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech. That same Texas Tech team that is averaging 38 points and 500 yards a game. He's somebody that I would not be opposed to, considering he has Kentucky ties, but he's definitely not my guy. The next person that they have in their top 3 is Sonny Dykes. He was once a Hal Mumme graduate assistant at Kentucky, and he's now the head coach of Louisiana Tech. He's got an 8-1 record, which I know is wrong because they played last night. And he's got an offense that's putting up 52.4 points a game and 571 yards a game.
Okay.
I'm not saying that he's going to come in and put up those kinds of numbers in the SEC, but those 2 guys are possible candidates. I wouldn't be opposed to any of them. I like the idea. Kentucky needs an offensive-minded type person because defense will get better. I think they could go and get a better defensive coordinator than Rick Minter. But the guy that I really want, because Rich Rodriguez is out of the question.
Okay.
He's probably on a golf course right now in Arizona. The guy that I want the most is Dirk Cutter. A lot of you all are probably asking who the hell Dirk Cutter is.
Who is Dirk Cutter?
Dirk Cutter is the Falcons offensive coordinator right now. He has previous experience at Boise State. He went 26-10 there, and Arizona State, where he went 40-34. He's the kind of guy that I want. He is very unpredictable when it comes to play calling. He's got the Falcons at 8-0. The only question is can you convince him, a guy that's got the offensive coordinator for an 8-0 Atlanta Falcon team, can you convince him to say, hey, come to Lexington and build this program?
Yeah, he was just hired to the Falcons on January 15th of this year, too.
Can you convince him to do it?
I'd say that would be a tough thing, and I agree with you, though. It looks to me, based on his resume, I've got the good old internet here working for me, looking at his resume, and kind of in a Bobby Petrino type mold, in that he had a lot of experience in the NFL. You said he's an offensive guru type guy. I mean, that doesn't sound to me like a bad hire. He did some good things at Boise State, then Arizona State. Then he was the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars from 2007 through 2011. Then with the Jaguars as both the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach until he took the offensive coordinator position for the Falcons. And the Falcons' offense is prolific.
The last time I checked, they were number 8
in
the NFL in offensive total yards. So again, that's the hardest thing is going to be to try and convince a guy like Dirk Cutter to come back to college football. But we have got to get to a break. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
You're listening to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
The Watchers, the Night, hop into a man's one hard, you and ghost run forward into battle shouting out, Axios!
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Kelly Patrick. We've got our man, Brian the Insider, on the line with us. How you doing this morning, Brian?
Good morning, guys. Love the show this morning. Great topics. Good to be with you.
How are you doing this weekend? You got what's on your mind? Any horse racing stuff? You watched some college football yesterday. What's going on with Brian the Insider this weekend?
Well, it's kind of a little lull in horse racing with the Breeders' Cup over. I did watch a lot of footballs. As you guys know, I live up in Ohio and listen to you on the iPhone app, which I love. But a big Cardinal fan. I wanted to jump in on the Louisville football talk. Guys, I fell in love with Louisville football back when I used to get the tickets for free, going to the old fairgrounds and watching them, and so I don't have those lofty expectations. I've loved this run, but I'm going to throw this out at you. And Charlie Strong, Charlie came supposedly a great defensive mind. I've been very disappointed with the way the defense looked yesterday and the special teams, but I think we're fine keeping Charlie's stock has got to be dropping a little bit. I mean, take a look at this. What happens if Teddy Bridgewater, they don't have a coaching change at Miami, and Teddy Bridgewater goes to Miami with some other teammates that were, had signed there, and we don't have Teddy. We've got a regular team, and I think Charlie's done a nice job, but I think a lot of this talk about Charlie being so highly coveted is overblown. We'd survive if Charlie left, but I think we got to look at the coaching staff and the recruiting. I know we got 9 recruits signed for next year, which isn't a ton, and we're looking at getting some high profile quick and some of these other guys. But Charlie's done a nice job, and Hurt and some of those guys, they've done fine, but it's not the exceptional job that a lot of the national media is making it out to be. And so, the silver lining in this is that I don't think Charlie's going anywhere. And without the exceptional play of Teddy Bridgewater, this is a very normal, average team, not much different than the 7-16 we had last year. Now, we are going to be setting up good for the next year, but I just think a lot of fans got way ahead of themselves with the undefeated season, and I think we win out. We get a real easy BCS bid, which will stop here in a year or so whenever they change the rules on that. But that's my thought on the Cardinal program. I think the silver lining in this is that Charlie's not really ready for the prime time to take over one of those programs, and there's a lot of them coming up. And and talking about Bobby Petrino, Tennessee's for sure going to fire their coach, and I think they may get in on Petrino too. But it's interesting stuff. I watched the Alabama game. Love seeing them lose. College football is in parity is great with it. If Florida doesn't get that block punt touchdown, they lose. It's just a great time of the year, guys. But I love the show. I'll hang up and listen to your comments. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Brian, you still there? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I was going to ask you a couple other things real quick.
Sure.
So I agree with you. I think that the production from Charlie Strong has been great. He's done well. He's really built this program into a competitive team who's undoubtedly on an uptick as a program overall. But you're right. I mean, I think going into the season, I was real excited about the defense, especially the defensive line. Apparently, I was overexcited. The defense sucks. A silver lining from yesterday is I really liked the speed that I saw from Corvin Lamb. We definitely got some talent going on the offense, but I agree with you. The coaching staff overall maybe isn't doing as great of a job as we thought they would. I wouldn't be too opposed. I mean, I love Vance Bedford. He's very enthusiastic, but certainly doesn't look like he's doing that great of a job. Do you think they should maybe shuffle up the coaching staff at all?
I think everything needs to be, all of us in our business, I'm in the insurance bit, we all need to get better at what we do, and the Cardinal staff is no exception. And all this hype about Charlie, and then I'm reading last week that Sean Watson, the offensive quarterback, may be one of the leading candidates for the Auburn job. And, where was Corvin Lamb? He came in and he had a brilliant play, looked like a world-class sprinter down the sideline. I never saw him again. Dominique Brown, I don't know what we're saving him for, but we need a big bruising running back. Why? I'd love to. I posted on one of my blogs this morning that I'd like an update on Perry's status. He looks like he may be out for a while, but I don't understand this stuff about keeping a red shirt on Dominique Brown. I mean, in a perfect world, that'd be fine, but Louisville is not Alabama or Ohio State or one of these schools that go 4 or 5 deep at every position. Dominique Brown, he needs to play if he's healthy, and we could use him. And I don't understand. I mean, this is an unusual situation to have a BCS bowl bid, even still now at our fingertips, and we got what was thought to be our best running back since Michael Bush sitting on the bench ready to play because we're saving him for a year. Saving him for what? I mean, play him. Where's Corvin Lamb? I don't know. I didn't see Gaines play at all. I'm just a little disappointed. We don't have the depth that a lot of college programs have, but we got to play the guys we have. And I've never been that impressed with Charlie's X and O's. I think he brings a lot of energy. He's got a lot of ethics. I mean, I like him a lot, and I think he's a good fit long term for Louisville. But I think the national media has gotten way ahead of themselves with him and Sean. I mean, Sean Watson was our quarterback's coach until Charlie fired the coordinator last year, and now he's a highly sought after SEC football coach. I just think a lot of this stuff has gotten blown up, and but I would like to see Dominique Brown. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on Corvin Lamb. How come we didn't see him anymore yesterday after that brilliant run?
Yeah, I have no idea. Corvin Lamb looked to me like he may be the fastest guy on the team. They didn't get him the ball, I don't think, at all after that amazing.
He never got back on the field, I don't think.
Yeah, that's inexplicable why you would take the guy who looks like in a dome with Teddy playing so well. You're trying to run a dome-style, fast-paced offense. Why not let Corvin Lamb get the ball in his hands? Or, I like how you mentioned Charles Gaines. Why not take our guys who can run, our track stars, and let them run? I mean, I agree with you. There was a lot of questionable stuff going on yesterday. Very disappointing loss. But I agree overall that the Louisville coaching staff may be getting a little too much credit. People getting a little carried away. I may be guilty of that too. To flip the script a little bit on you there, Brian, I know that you're our man Brian the Insider up in Ohio. Your wife's a Kentucky fan. Were you able to watch the Kentucky-Maryland basketball game the other night?
I did, and I got to be honest with you. In the first half, I was very impressed with Kentucky's length, and I really like Goodwin and the kid from Tennessee, Paulin. I forget how to say his name. He kind of reminded me of Kid Gilchrist, but I thought they looked great. They'll get it going. Cal, and I've never been a huge fan of Cal, but I got to give him a lot of credit. He has really done a nice coaching job, and it got close. Who would have thought it would be a walk-on point guard that would steal the show? Never at Kentucky in the Calipari era would I have guessed that, but I think they're going to be good. I think last year's team is going to be extremely hard to duplicate.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think that they're going to be in the hunt late in the year.
Well, Brian, we certainly appreciate you calling in this morning. Some good insight there. You're going to watch the Louisville-Manhattan game this afternoon.
Oh, I am, and I'm glad to see Shane back in. I don't know what he did to get in the doghouse or what he did to get out of the doghouse, but we need him. I just hope we can shoot. This dilemma of not being able to shoot over the last 4 or 5 years for Pitino has got to be really upsetting him. I mean, he made his trademark off the three-point line, and we got guys that can't kick the ball in the ocean, but if we can keep the ball inside the paint and get it to Gorky and Harrell and Shane, and I think we'll be in great shape, and I'm very excited about I got to get it on ESPN full court up here on my satellite provider, so I'm looking forward to watching that game today, guys.
Well, great. Well, Brian, thank you very much for calling in. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go Cards.
Thank you, guys. Love the show. Bye-bye.
Good stuff there from our man Brian the Insider. Slow time in the horse racing field right now, but able to talk a little bit about a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I like his assessment of the Kentucky game too. He said a lot of things that I agree with. I liked Goodwin's ability to create his own shot, get in to the lane, get fouled, get to the free throw line. I think he was 9 for 11.
You think he's a little bit of Tyreek Evans, maybe? Big, freakish athlete who could play point guard, get his shot going, really has a lot of NBA potential. Do you think he's Tyreek Evans type guy?
I think so.
That's a big statement.
It is a big statement, but I mean, Goodwin is a big time player.
He is. He was a top 5 guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think Goodwin is going to give you. I don't know how he's going to give you a lot of good minutes early, much like I think when Poitras comes around, which I also agree with Brian the Insider that he is a very Michael Kidd Gilchrist like player.
Wow. Okay.
He has the motor.
Okay.
But he doesn't have it all put together yet.
Okay.
He doesn't have the what's the word I'm looking for? We're just totally just
balls.
If you want to say that, sure.
Okay, he doesn't have the balls.
But again, these guys are extremely young. We're basing all of our opinions after one.
It just happens to be that Kentucky played a unranked but a Maryland team that's traditionally a great basketball program.
They'll be back.
It wasn't Manhattan. It wasn't a cupcake type game.
And it's only going to get worse from here, I guess you could say. I mean,
the schedule.
They play Duke.
Yeah, that's
Tuesday.
Right.
That's going to be an interesting game to watch. I think the Plumlee brothers are going to give the Wilcher and Noel some problems to coincide with Cauley Stein.
I know that, sorry to interrupt you there, I know that everybody loves talking Kentucky basketball. I actually don't mind talking about it. So if someone wants to call in, 502-384-1450, let us know what you think. Who do you think will be running the point for Kentucky 2 months from now?
Ryan Harrow.
Okay.
It's the same thing that you sat through last year with Marcus Teague.
Okay.
He has the talent. He doesn't, again, have it put together. Okay. Once you get that talent put together, then you're going to see this team start to click, and it's going to run through the point guards, which is what Calipari's system runs through. It runs through the point guards. I think Ryan Harrow is definitely the point guard that you will see in the next 2 months. I do have a question for you. I asked Mark this yesterday.
Okay.
And
let me have it. I'm ready.
Now, I know it's early. Do you think this Louisville team
Okay.
can beat Kentucky.
Yes, I think they will.
Why?
I'll put $50 on it. I'll put $20 on it that they'll win by 6 or more.
So you're willing to give me $20?
If Louisville, I'll say they'll win by 6.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Why, you ask? They've got a lot of experience. They've got great depth at the backcourt. They've got great depth at the front court. I think they can bring it to Kentucky. Kentucky's very talented, arguably much more talented than Louisville. I think Louisville's a good team. I don't care that they're bad shooters. They are bad shooters.
Yeah, they're not very good. If you look at the Bellarmine game where they were 1 for 19.
That's not good. But they have scorers. I think Luke Hancock, even when he was at George Mason, he just wasn't a 3-point shooter. Russ Smith can score. I think Peyton Siva can score. I certainly think Shane can score. I certainly think Gorky can put in 8-10 points a game. So, I mean, I think they're going to get points from a lot of different places, but I think Louisville is a very deep team, and when you have a deep, experienced, still pretty talented team like that, and then they play the Pitino style, I think that's a very potent thing. So, yeah, what do you think? You think Louisville will be able to beat Kentucky in basketball this year? It's a monkey that Rick's got on his back. Since Cal's came in town, Rick hasn't been able to beat him. I mean, that's an issue. Rick says it's not. I try to say it's not sometimes.
Yeah,
but, I mean, it's out there.
I think
Cal owns Rick since Cal's came.
Tyler will probably disagree with me, but
Okay.
I think if this is Rick Pitino's year to beat Kentucky, this is the year.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I guarantee you, if he doesn't beat us this year, he's never going to beat us.
Well, I mean, let's look at it 2 years from now, okay?
Oh, okay, well,
Peyton's going to be gone.
yeah,
We're going to lose Van Treese.
yeah.
Shane could be gone. I still think we could be real good for a few years down
Oh,
the road.
yeah, I'm not
I mean,
denying the fact that
Montrez
you guys
will
bad.
probably be back. Gorgie may be gone, too. I mean, we could have a mass exodus of these guys. But I agree. Out of all the years, preseason or the beginning of the season, this looks like the year. I'm not going to say it's a down year for Kentucky because apparently Cal doesn't have down years.
I think it's a hangover year.
Okay.
I think a lot of guys are we might expect a little bit more than what they might be capable of doing. I don't see this team winning a national championship yet. Talk to me in a couple months, and I'll give you another opinion. I don't see them winning a national championship this year. I see them probably going to about the Sweet 16, Elite 8, somewhere in that area.
If that's a hangover year, then
I'll take it. I mean, it's better than not making the tournament at all, i.e. Billy Gillespie. But Adam is telling us that we need to get to a break.
Okay.
I am Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Bloyd, who is somewhere in a tree. And to my right is Kelly Patrick. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
Grab your BR, you know what you gotta do. Save Cortana, face the die, throw some stuff up, and don't look back. Requiem is waiting for you. Grab your BR, go do what you gotta do.
Hey, Farrell.
Hey.
It's Kelly Patrick. We're not on the air, just so you know. I was normally Tyler's here, and I think you may send him a text or so. Or got any ideas of what some things we should talk about today?
Okay. We don't have Tyler today.
Nope, I'm here.
You know what?
right.
I'm looking at my phone, and I see these new players, big fantasy football points. Tannehill. So Tyler did just text me. I just realized it. So
Yeah, there you are, buddy. That's it.
Tannehill, Reese. What's Reese?
That's Marcel Reese.
Okay,
the,
Marcel Reese.
running back / receiver from Oakland.
Okay, great.
And then, how are you guys doing in your head-to-head competition?
Tyler's beating me handily.
How about?
I don't know the exact score, man.
The real story is Prestige Worldwide, run by Brad Steen and Matt McCarthy, have won 2 straight games.
Well, let's take a look at their team. If you want to pull their team up, we can get their one loss in total points and see where they are.
Oh, no, we're terrible.
All right. But
They've won 2 straight games.
Hey, we're up.
Moral support.
We are. I'm telling you, my teams always make a serious run at the end of the year. I don't know how I do it, but it happens.
Oh, that's good, brother. That's good. Where is Tyler today? Is he under the weather?
He's hunting. He's in a tree trying to shoot a deer.
Well, that's not a sport until they give the deer guns. It's not going to be a sport.
Let's talk about that on the air. I'm okay with that.
Too controversial.
Yeah, it is. You're right. That alienate a lot of. That would. There's a lot of hunters out there. That'd be it. People calling in. Controversy's good. All right, Farrell. We're gonna bring us back in, and we'll get to talking to you.
All right, good. We'll see.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it up.
Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz. I am Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Boyd, who is in a tree somewhere trying to kill a deer. Alongside is Kelly Patrick. And on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Farrell Elliott. Farrell, how you doing this morning?
Oh, guys, I'm doing well. So he's up in a tree, huh? I guess, with the kind of year that Tyler's having in fantasy football, you do want to get and shoot something. So, yeah,
I think you can make the same case for me, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you guys are in a head-to-head battle, as we established a couple weeks ago. So how's that proceeding?
Right now, Tyler's got the lead over the last 2 weeks. Tyler has scored, his team scored 281 points. I won't repeat his team name. I think it's very offensive.
My poop is Ronnie and Brown.
Yeah. And so he has 281 points to my 263.
Oh, it's going to take us through week 16, guys, to decide a winner here. It will not be decided until the last week. Well, let's talk about getting you guys some moves that'll maybe put Kelly Patrick in a better position to run up on our man who's stuck in a tree.
Yeah, I'm all about it, Farrell. What do you got for us this morning? I'm starting Peyton Manning against Carolina. I like it. Carolina's normally got a pretty good defense, but I'm feeling pretty good about my Peyton Manning start today.
How can you not like that start? 20 touchdowns from Peyton Manning so far this season, 6 picks, and as you'll remember early in the season, he had 3 of those picks in one game. Peyton Manning's the elite quarterback everyone remembers him to be. What a resurgent, what a great career.
Yeah, Farrell, the Bengals play the Giants today. I think we can talk about that since there are some Bengals fans around here. The Bengals get back-to-back Mannings. Any thoughts about that? I mean, it's superb against superb again. So,
well, Eli in the last 4 games had a great amount of difficulty, guys, and he needs to get back. He needs to get back in a rhythm and get the vibe going that he usually picks up towards the end of the season. He's an excellent November-December quarterback, and the Cincinnati pass defense, that's a great place to start. High hopes for the Bengals with some fantasy studs. Of course, wide receiver Green is your number one play, but on the New York Giants side, if you've got a Giant and if that Giant is healthy, get him in the lineup because Cincinnati should give up a number of fantasy points, and Eli will benefit this weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Moving on here, I'm just looking at some of the schedules of games. You've got the Lions and Vikings. I have Calvin Johnson on my team, and he's kind of been a little bit of a disappointment. It seems like teams are almost figuring him out. Can you kind of explain that a little bit as to why?
It is inexplicable. A number of people in the Lions organization have tried to figure that out. However, if any day is a Calvin Johnson breakthrough day, this game should certainly be it. They're going to have to move the ball in the air. Minnesota loses Percy Harvin for this week, and they have on that offensive side of the ball, on the Viking side, involvement has been promised to the tight end, Kyle Rudolph. What a great weapon that the Vikings have literally ignored in their passing offense. Their entire offense is run the ball and then push the ball down the field, a philosophy that I really love, but you've got to have the players to do it. And Christian Ponder has certainly not been that player over the last few weeks. There's a deep sleeper. It doesn't get any deeper than this. But all the college football fans from the SEC will remember diminutive receiver Jarius Wright from Arkansas, who will be plugged into the lineup today and asked to do what Percy Harvin has done. Now, I doubt if he'll be as successful as that, but he will get touches. He will get the ball. And so if you play in a league that lets you make ad drops and you're absolutely desperate for a player that's going to get some looks, Jarius Wright could catch the ball and run with it. An interesting play for the Vikings against Detroit. But that's a roundabout way to answer your question. Calvin Johnson has a breakout game today.
Well, good. Looking back on Thursday's game, the Colts versus the Jaguars, Andrew Luck, is he as good as we thought we were getting, what the Colts were getting, or is there still something that we might be missing?
He's better. He's getting better every week. He's one of those players where the sky is the absolute limit. You know, it's a situation that now you've got a player that you can expect to go out and have a shot at a 300 to 400 yard passing game on a weekly basis. We watched Reggie Wayne become the #1 receiver in fantasy football. He was a 7th or 8th round pick in fantasy leagues this year, and the players that took him in the KFFSC are going to be amongst those that challenge for the championship on that alone. Players, Vic Ballard and Dwayne Allen, 2 players who were not even mentioned at the start of the season, now become viable players as a fill-in or flex play each week. He's raised the level of the performance of all players on that team, and it's got to be a really exciting thing. Those Colts fans are just really responding to this team, and Luck is making the league and the city his own. It's a fascinating story.
Farrell, this morning, or this afternoon rather, at 1 o'clock, we have a matchup where very much so the struggling Titans are going to play against the Dolphins in Miami. Chris Johnson, what's the implications of him, and is Ryan Tannehill actually a good start?
Well, guys, unless you have one of the top 4 or 5 point-producing quarterbacks in fantasy ball, Ryan Tannehill is a start. You can look away from Matt Schaub or Jay Cutler in a tough matchup. You can actually, if you have a Russell Wilson, if you've been relying on Fitzpatrick or Phillip Rivers, those players will probably not have the kind of game that we'll look from Tannehill. You know, Tannehill's thrown almost 90 straight balls. I saw the number. It was approaching 90 straight balls without a pick. He's coming into his own. He'll have a successful day. You can be in business with Ryan Tannehill, and if you've got Dolphin players on your roster, make sure you start him. Hartline is a great top producer today. I really like the idea of getting in business with the Dolphins this weekend.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. Continuing on with some of the scheduled games today, the Cowboys and Eagles. Vic, he kind of seems like he's on his last leg. Is this a game where he needs to go out and just dominate the Cowboys defense, or what do you think needs to happen?
Well, for them to win, he'll have to dominate that defense. And it's, the whole thing is just imploding on Michael Vick. And it starts, as you guys know, it all starts in the trenches. The offensive line and defensive line dictate what's going to be done on either side of the ball. And, Philadelphia is just too banged up. There's not enough depth at that position. And in football, it's an interesting thing. The skill position, guys, there is an overabundance and supply of players who can play in the NFL that can come in and contribute right away. except at the offensive line position, where there's just not enough talent to go around to keep the defensive line and the speed rush players that are now prevalent in the NFL, to keep them off the quarterback. You've got to have some studs on the offensive line, and Michael Vick, in all fairness, doesn't have any. And it's just, I don't see that situation getting any better. The best hope that they have, I think both teams are 3-5, and the best hope that the Eagles have today is Dallas can just invent wonderful ways to lose. And, so it'll be an interesting game. It'll be a big game for fantasy players to watch. Disappointed all over is the reaction to owners with Eagles and Cowboy players this year. Some weekends you have an up weekend. Other weekends it's just difficult to imagine. Again, look to the tight end position. Significant performance from Whitten today. Eagle fans and players, fantasy players that are utilizing Jeremy Maclin still are hoping that he can return to form. I can't verify yay or nay about it. These players are too hard to predict based on where you drafted them. You got to play them. Mm-hmm. So you play them and you hope that you can get together with some type of fantasy weekend, more in line with what you thought you were going to get when you drafted these players. But hey, there's another one, Michael Vick. Go get you Tannehill if your waiver wire is still open, or consider putting a Russell Wilson or a Tannehill in front of Michael Vick if you have them already existing on your roster.
Well, that's very interesting. I would have to agree with you. I personally do not have Michael Vick. I'm not a fan of the scrambling type quarterbacks, and I want somebody that's going to be in there and that's going to deliver the ball. But I'm looking at the Sunday night game, the Texans and Bears. You've probably got one of the best, if not the best, defense in the Chicago Bears going up against one of the best, if not the best, running back in Arian Foster. I guess in order to win the game, I guess what's going to happen first? The Bears defense is going to break down, or Arian Foster will break down? And should I start, if I was an owner of Arian Foster, would I start him against a very tough Bears defense?
Oh yeah, you can't do it. In fantasy football's primary player, you can never put him on it. That would be like not that.
It was kind of a dumb question, but I mean,
well, it really isn't. But you sit there and you wonder if you're winning. And you have Arian Foster, that's why you're winning. I looked at a contest, a Las Vegas contest, this week to look at their top 10. We have a gentleman you guys spoke with, Kelly Thompson.
Yep.
On last Sunday, Kelly is currently second in the FFPC, a fantasy league that pays the winner $250,000. And we're all rooting for Kelly to hang on. And what's different about Kelly's team, out of those 10 teams, of their top 10, Kelly is the only one that doesn't have Arian Foster. So this is the game that could really shake up the leaderboards in fantasy football, and in our contest as well. Foster owners are doing well. So, we look to this with great anticipation, and I would like to see what would happen to a Houston offense that does have Foster shut down. I'd like to see how they react. I understand that their tight end, Owen Daniels, could be a game-time decision. James Casey will move into that position. Oddly enough, James Casey is listed by RT Sports, the stat provider for all high-stakes fantasy football, as a running back, which makes an interesting situation as you go forward. Your situation with the Chicago defense is they are opportunistic. They believe in each other, and they play as a unit, and they have terrific special teams. And they're likely to make a play at any point of the game. So this is going to be a very exciting game to watch, and we'll see if the Texans can adjust, if Foster can continue to run over and through the Bears like he has everyone else. 10 touchdowns this year, guys, from Arian Foster. That's what makes the difference. Actually, 11 if you count the one he caught as a reception. So it's a pretty impressive ball player.
It'll definitely be a big matchup tonight. I know that both the Texans, and the Bears, arguably two of the best teams in the NFL. You got to say that's the highlight game of the day. Aside from fantasy, Farrell, what game really gets you excited today?
Oh, well, that's the one. If I had to go deeper, there's going into this Monday night game, that's going to be a fascinating game too, because this is where fantasy football is wonderful for the NFL. Monday night, you have the woeful 1-7 Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Pittsburgh, where they're 5-3, but they're better than that. Pittsburgh is a huge favorite. This game starts at 8:30, so you would imagine back in the days before fantasy football was such a big deal, people would turn the lights out on this game about 10:30 or switch the channel or quit it. But we won't see that in this game because Kansas City is full of fantasy performers. Dwayne Bowe is a key performer for all teams. So is Jamal Charles. You look at Pittsburgh with their running back situation, people that hung on to Isaac Redmond or picked him up off waivers or looking for him to have a second big game as he's in position as a starting running back. So we're in a situation here where this game that means very, very little in regards to the standings in the NFL has a great impact on fantasy football. I don't know. What do you guys think about that Jets at Seattle game? That looks like an interesting late game this afternoon.
It's going to be a pretty interesting game. I'm excited if I can get it on TV. That is a game I might actually watch.
Jets at Seattle, really?
Yeah, I mean, Sanchez has been a mess. Is it
a train wreck? You want to see a train wreck?
Well, no, I've actually, you know me, I've always wanted to say school bus fire, but I guess the final question I have to ask you, is it Tebow time in New York?
I don't believe it's ever going to be Tebow time in New York. I think that the coach perhaps has been less than honest in his dealings with the press about how he feels about Tebow, and there's not an issue that's been more examined in professional football this year about individual players as it is the Tebow situation and the quarterback situation.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly has not become a controversy. If I had told you guys in week 10, this is Sanchez's stat line, and I read you his stats, and I told you that the New York Jets were 3-5, you would tell me that Tebow would be the quarterback. But Tebow is getting less time on the field, despite the fact that, train wreck or whatever we call it is a situation that exists with the Jets. So I don't believe the coach has much desire to play Tebow. I think the player was acquired probably by the general manager or the ownership, rather, and it could lead to a bigger problem as the Jets go on throughout the year. Seattle is interesting because they have a very exciting, scrambling quarterback in Russell Wilson. They ever since Golden Tate went up and got credited for the touchdown against the Packers, he seems to find new ways to score and has been the true fantasy football sleeper. Marshawn Lynch is a solid player, drafted in the 4th or 5th round of most drafts, maybe the 3rd for some, but he was still on the board late. And it's a situation where that player will significantly contribute to fantasy lineups. That's a good one. And then, guys, just finishing up, my favorite team, the Oakland Raiders. They don't have their number 1 running back. They don't have their number 2 running back. But they have Marcel Reese coming out of the backfield to catch balls and to add some excitement for fantasy owners, because there's not a lot of excitement watching the Raiders. But if you have any of the receivers, then the Raiders are always playing from behind. Carson Palmer, when he's not throwing interceptions, can throw it to some of the guys in the black shirts.
Yeah, Carson has actually thrown for a lot of yards this year. You're right. Always likes to throw in a few interceptions there. But so Marcel Reese would be a nice start for anybody who needs a kind of a flex type guy this week, huh?
Yeah, as a PPR league, such as all high-stakes leagues are, and if you're not playing PPR, the guys need to come and play with us next year. Marcel Reese should catch 6 to 8 passes today, and he can run with that ball after he catches it, which makes him an exciting player.
Once again, we got our man Farrell Elliott from the KFFSC, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, which is actually not only the biggest high-stakes fantasy football league in the Kentuckiana area, it's actually one of the bigger in the whole country. So we certainly appreciate our man Farrell coming on, as he does every Sunday, talking to us, getting us ready for our big day of games. Before we let you go, Farrell, I will ask, I know you keep up with all things sports. On December 29th is Saturday, Louisville and Kentucky will play in basketball. You know, it's a pretty highly anticipated matchup. Will Rick finally beat Cal? Since Cal's came to Lexington, Rick has not won against him. Who do you pick as the winner in that game, Farrell?
Those guys still are using that orange round ball.
That's correct. That is correct.
Yes.
Guys, you know, it's December 29th. Oh, my goodness. Hey, fellas, I'm going to. Where's the game being played this year?
Louisville.
Oh well, it's going to be Louisville victorious at home in the Yum Center. Why not?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Farrell. We appreciate you coming on as we do every week, and have a great week. Good luck with. Have a good day watching the games.
You guys do the same. We'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot, Farrell.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Good talk there from our fantasy expert. Should be an interesting game. I'm bummed as a Bengals fan. They're not doing so hot. They could win today. They could always beat the Giants. I wouldn't bank on it, but they're sitting there at 3-5, where the Ravens are leading the AFC North at 6-2. They also got the Steelers ahead of them at 5-3.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Brad? Do you think the Bengals are scratch it? It's a bad season, or you think they could still make a comeback and maybe win today, get on a little bit of a roll? There's a lot of football to be played still.
I'm not ready to throw in the towel for this Bengals team yet. I think they need to stop shooting themselves in the foot, first of all. When I went to the game last week when they played Denver, there were so many moments where I thought they had momentum going, but a penalty or a drop pass would really stall out the drive and ultimately really just continually shoot themselves in the foot, and allowing Peyton Manning just to constantly pick them apart up down the field really hurt them. So the defensive secondary has to get better. But my man Adam is telling us that we need to get to a break. I am Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Bloyd. Thank you for tuning in this morning. There's Kelly Patrick next to me. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
Now back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Tell us your thoughts on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz Line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. Myself, Kelly Patrick. We got our man Brad Steen in the studio with me this morning while Tyler Bloyd's out trying to get a deer, I guess. He's up in a tree doing some hunting this week. So we got a great guest on the line with us, actually. We got Antoine Banks, who is the head coach at Kentucky State for the men's basketball team. How you doing this morning, Antoine?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Just getting ready for, football season still going on. Both Brad and I are big basketball fans, as is everybody in this region. So we're trying to get ready for the basketball season. How about you?
Actually, we got started last night, so we're actually full force now.
Who did you play last night?
We played Southern Indiana, number 12 team in the country.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's Southern Indiana, not IUS.
Right. We have IUS this coming Wednesday.
I saw that. I know that you actually played, I believe, for IUS, right?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. Before you went over to Kentucky State, became an assistant coach, and ended up moving up to being the interim men's head coach, and then you were named as the actual head coach this past year. So how's it feel to be the head coach? How's everything going overall at Kentucky State?
I mean, it's just a blessing. I mean, I'm doing what I've wanted to do since I was about 8 or 9. So, I mean, I'm very fortunate as far as just to know what I wanted to do at a young age and actually continue to strive and pursue it and actually be able to do what I'm doing. And, just over here trying to rebuild a program that has a lot of tradition, a lot of history that a lot of people forgot about. We've been getting better each and every year, and this year, we expect exciting things. First things first, we have to get healthy. We haven't been healthy since preseason, so still got a lot of guys banged up and trying to get better every day so we can get full strength and try to figure out exactly what we have.
I know that you actually played basketball for IU Southeast before, joining the coaching staff there, right?
Yeah, I played 2 years there for Walt Corvine, who's now an assistant coach at Wake Forest.
Walt seems to be a big influence on you. Tell us a little bit about Walt.
Walt is a very, very big part of who I am as far as, the way I carry myself, the way I do things. Walt is very, very demanding. So he instilled a lot of discipline in us. But the most important thing, he made us hold ourselves accountable. As kids, your brain doesn't work the way it should just because you have to mature and you have to grow with age. And as a player, you don't really understand all the things the coach does and he says. But, he prepared us for life after basketball at the end of the day. And, a lot of things he taught me, a lot of things he instilled in me. I just try to, do the same to my guys. And the biggest thing in today, I think, as far as a coach, is relating to his players, being able to relate to his players, being able to understand their lives, what they're going through, because it's a different era now. It's not the same as when I was growing up or even before me. These kids are different today. So you have to do things a little different. You have to adjust a little bit. And with me not, being that much older, I think I got a great relationship as far as being able to relate with my guys and things like that. Therefore, I'm able to get maybe just a little bit more out of them.
Since you brought it there, I'll mention that there is an article I'm looking at from the South Bend Tribune from June 6th of this year. It says basketball took a backseat to life at Kentucky State University this past season. Speaking of you, it says that it lists some of the obstacles you had to go through last year that were, completely unexpected. It says one player lost a mother and grandmother to cancer within a month. One player was shot during the season. One player found 2 relatives murdered when he returned home for Christmas. One player experienced what Banks called a, quote, Penn State football / Syracuse basketball sort of incident. So being a young head coach, being thrust into a position of helping these young men, it sounds like you certainly had a lot to deal with during your first season, didn't you?
I mean, you that's kind of an understatement.
Golly,
I mean, you being 30 years old, a dream come true, an opportunity of a lifetime. I'm always stressing to my guys, all you want is an opportunity in life. It's when you get that opportunity, it's what you do with it, So it was tough. Coach Wade Houston, that was at U of L, that was at Tennessee. He's been a great mentor, a great help to me. When I came over here, I actually came to work for his son-in-law, and Coach Houston helped us 2 years. We kind of brought him out of semi-retirement.
Wow.
And one of the things, he was just like, Coach, I mean, it's coaches that coach 20, 30 years that doesn't go through the things you go through, and you went through it all in 1 year, But at the end of the day, it put things in perspective because it's exactly what we stress to our guys as far as when we say we care about them, when we tell them we love them, when we let them know that the game of basketball is just a game, but we want to prepare you for life. There's a game after basketball, and it's called life. And it's a lot harder to play and figure out than basketball. So I just think that, with me growing up, my mom being a single parent, my grandmother's being a huge influence in my life, being strong women, and me having to kind of grow up early, being the oldest, and having to take after my brothers and look after them. I just think, that I had the survival tools to actually, get those guys through it. Now it was tough for me at times as well too, but my biggest thing was, I had to get those guys through it. I had to get those young men through something that, they didn't expect to, come to Kentucky State and have to deal with. And it was a struggle. And a lot of times, we just had to take a seat back and, like a couple of things. We didn't even practice. We just had a team meeting and we popped in Coach Carter. We ate some popcorn, ate some pizza, made them write a little paper as far as, what they take from it, how did they relate to some parts of the movie, things like that. Just take just take a step back and just, realize how fortunate we are. Just realize that, we're here for a purpose, and it's not just basketball, but, we got to make a difference. And, I feel like we got through that. If we wouldn't have had some injuries at the end of the year, we would have had a successful story at the end of all of that. But we got a lot of guys back from that year. We got some good guys coming in. So we just want to ride that momentum we had going into the end of last season and try to go into it this year, even though we have a very tough non-conference schedule to start the year.
Coach, this is Brad, by the way. When kids grow up, they want to play at the big time level. They want to play Division I, Division II, so on. What do you think your selling point is? Like, hey, there's a lot of good competition at the NAIA level. What do you think your the selling point would be?
Well, first and foremost thing is, what do you want to get your education in? What do you want to do after basketball? Because a lot of kids today think that they can play forever, or they think they can go to the NBA, they can go overseas, but that's not the case. But the biggest thing is you sell yourself as far as who they're coming to play for. I think that has a lot to do with it. As far as getting some kids that you may not get just for the simple fact of your relationship that you build with them throughout the recruiting process. And then at the end of the day, a kid wants to play for a winner. A kid wants to play for an exciting program on the rise, So my biggest thing is winning will take care of everything. And, we're going in the right direction as far as building towards that goal, as far as being a consistent winner, being a program in the state of Kentucky that has great tradition basketball. I'm telling our guys all the time, we got Pikeville that's successful, Georgetown that's successful, UK, Louisville, Bellarmine. It's Kentucky State turn now to get up with the program and be just like those programs. So, my biggest thing is, just recruiting as far as selling me who I am, as far as my history, as far as having the same dream to go Division I, but not necessarily making it to Division I, but I wouldn't change my direction whatsoever if I could go back, because the things I learned at the NAI level and also had success at the level, and it still opened doors up for me to be able to pursue my dreams as I am today. So I guess I'm a living product as far as you don't have to go Division I and still have success and live out your dreams.
Once again, we have our man Antoine Banks on, the head coach for the men's basketball team at Kentucky State. Antoine, we talked a little bit about how you sell someone on going NAIA instead of maybe trying to walk on at one of the bigger programs, something like that. How do you deal with someone who's there to play basketball? They don't maybe think they're going to go to the NBA. They're there to get their education. Maybe they know what degree they're going after. And then they have some of these issues come up. I mean, I'm sure you've went through some personal things on your own, but I'd imagine there's got to be some of this that you haven't went through. What do you tell a kid who's there to get his education, not to go pro, and then he has something that you could compare to a Penn State or Syracuse type situation? What do you tell a kid in that situation? Why should he stick with playing basketball? And I mean, how do you mentor him in that situation?
Well, I mean, see, when I say that, I can relate to these guys and things like that, I went through somewhat similar situations. Now, we all go through different things, but, as far as, my players, when he lost his mother, and by the way, he had just turned 18 on a Monday, which is Halloween, and he loses his mother that Friday in the same week. So that was very devastating to a young man who, like I said, is only child, and he had just turned 18. But, when my senior year, I lost my grandfather the week of a game. And about a month and a half later, I lost my uncle that was shot and killed in Chicago. So, and my family was there for me as far as, see, as a basketball player, regardless what you go through in life, what's going on in your day, when you step foot between those lines on that floor, I think you have about 2.5, 3 hours to just clear your mind, play the game that you love, and just be free from the world for that amount of time, just to breathe and exhale and just get away from life. So it's like, it's a pressure releaser, so I just think, dealing with that, being around your brothers, because, we have a brotherhood, we stress family. It's a very family sport atmosphere around here, so the biggest thing is, is we have to lean on each other. We have to use each other. We have to take some of that pain away from them that they're feeling inside, and we have to accept some of that pain ourselves, just so the simple fact they don't have to go through it by themselves. So just being there with them, talking to them, just letting them know that you're there, letting them know it's okay to be mad and be angry, but at the same time, we can't hold it in. We got to let it out. And I think throughout the course of the year, guys got better with it. I think guys understood the message as far as, it's life outside of basketball. This can be taken from us at any point in time. It's a privilege to play the game because there's so much other unfortunate things and issues going on out there today. Just try, because my biggest thing is what I learned from Scooter McCray and Wiley Brown is before you're a coach, you're a mentor. And we got to be mentored to these guys as far as, role models, and give them guidance and give them some structure as far as, so when they do graduate, they do get that piece of paper that they can survive out there in that real world, and they can actually attack it head on and be ready for whatever life throws at them, So that was one of the biggest things that I got from Wiley and Scooter over there, and just took a step back and was like, it's not all about these wins and losses. It's not about, what accolades you can get as a coach, man. At the end of the day, it's about these young men, because they're the ones playing the game. They're the ones going through that wall for you. They're the one out there giving everything that they have for you. So the main thing I can give back is let them know that I do care. I do love you, that it's more than basketball at the end of the day. I don't care about what you can just do for me on that basketball floor. I care about you as an individual person, and I want you to get your degree, and I want you to go out there and be successful. So when you have your own family, you can instill those values that I tried to instill in you.
Antoine, what are some of the guys on the team this year that you're looking to as leaders, and is there any connections to the Louisville area? You have any guys that maybe some of our listeners here in Louisville would know of?
Well, Antonio Sullivan was going to be a huge, very important piece to the puzzle that we were trying to do this year. He played at Iroquois, he's a very, very good player, transfer from Carson Newman, and he tore his Achilles in workouts during preseason, so he's actually out through. He's going to be out this year, redshirting. We have a guy by the name of Devin Anderson that played at Dolph. He's going to be very, very good for us. He's a point guard. We have a young man that's a freshman out of Danville, Kentucky, Tristan Ford. He was a three-sport athlete over there. He played very, very well last night against Southern Indiana. We were very excited about that as far as our young guys stepping up to the plate. But, as far as local guys, that's pretty much it as far as what we have. We have some Indiana guys that we're going to look forward to stepping up and producing for us this year, and just trying to continue to build and get better from what we started last year.
Well, Antoine, we know that you play against your alma mater on Wednesday, Indiana University Southeast. We certainly really appreciate you coming on with us. I know there was some kind of heavy stuff on there to talk about, but that was some good stuff. We really appreciate it, and we'd love to have you on again, maybe even later in the season. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff there, Brad, huh?
Yeah, that was really deep stuff there for a minute. That's the kind of guy I wouldn't mind playing basketball for.
He sounds like a real positive, upbeat,
very positive
realistic
guy, especially
guy.
Through some of the stuff that he had to manage in his first year going through as a basketball head coach. But Adam, my man, is telling us that we have got to get to a break. Coming up next, we got about 15 minutes left. You want to give us a call, the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line is 502-384-1450, or you can shoot us a text on the Lotus Gun Works text line at 502-414-1450. I am Brad Steen, filling in for Tyler Bloyd alongside Kelly Patrick. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.
It's the Weekend Sports Buzz. Let us know what you think. Give us a call on the Oxmoor Ford Lincoln Buzz line at 384-1450.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Buzz. My man Brad Steen in the studio with myself, Kelly Patrick, this morning. We just finished a great interview with our man Antoine Banks, the head coach at Kentucky State men's basketball team. This segment is brought to you by Franklin Taxes and Accounting, services residents and business owners nationwide. We offer financial planning, tax preparation services, estate planning, LLC and corporation setup, and forensic auditing. We can help any corporation or small business with payroll, monthly financials, bookkeeping, and much more. We are located in southern Indiana at 611 Watt Street, Jeffersonville, Indiana. Contact our friendly and dedicated CPA, Marcy Franklin, who has over 15 years of experience, at 502-424-1179, or check out our website, franklintaxes.com, for further information. We are committed to providing expert advice and meeting every client's individual needs. Brad, I know that one of the things we wanted to talk about today was there was an interesting article that was released.
Very interesting.
About a week ago, actually, so it's a little late, but the title of it is Reds Debate Moving Closer Aroldis Chapman to Rotation. I'll just read the first paragraph. The great Aroldis Chapman debate is back again, starter or closer. 75 innings of sheer dominance and intimidation, or 175 of the unknown and unproven.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on record very loudly outspoken that I think that having a starter who's an absolute ace is much more valuable than having a closer who's an ace. Your feelings, Brad?
I think you're dumb. I think you're dumb.
Make a case for me. Convince me, because I'm not buying it. Why?
Because
why is 75 innings better than 200? Tell me. Go.
Because of arm issues.
So you're a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
We don't know.
I'm telling the truth. Go back and look at a guy like Ubaldo Jimenez. Remember when he pitched in Colorado?
Okay.
And he was pumping out 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he was pitching complete games after complete games. That takes a toll on your arm, dude. I'm telling you. I mean, I can't say that I was throwing 100 miles an hour in high school when I pitched, but, I mean, just imagine just the sheer force for 7 innings. You're trying to get him to throw 95 to 100 miles an hour every single pitch for 7 straight innings.
So you're making the decision out of fear because we want to handle him with kid gloves and avoid him getting hurt. We don't want a Randy Johnson. We want a great closer.
Right, because guess who wins the game at the end of the game? Your closer. He comes in and saves it for you. Now, there has been a list of apparent guys that would, if Chapman were to named the starter of this team, there's Jonathan Broxton, who was on this team, Ryan Matson, who missed last year but was technically on the team.
But we don't have him anymore. He just had a 1-year deal. We could re-sign him.
They could re-sign him, even though he did elect for free agency. And Joakim Soria. A lot of you all are like, who the hell is Joakim Soria?
Played for Kansas City at one time. I think he was even with the Yankees.
He was the former Royals closer who is also returning for injury.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that the Reds are still talking about this. Why would you want to make a guy who pumps 100 miles? Why? Okay, I guess the better question is would you want a guy who pumps 100 miles an hour one day out of 5, or do you want a guy who can go in 4 days out of 5 and pump 100-mile-an-hour fastballs?
He's only going to go in when there's a save situation.
When there's a save situation, or when Dusty decides this guy needs work. So, I'm still with putting him in the closer role.
We don't know if he'd be an ace. I mean, I'll give you that. We don't know if he'd be a starting pitcher ace. So that's an unknown. So I can go with you on that. We don't know.
His control got significantly better this year once they slowed down his windup, or I'm sorry, sped up his windup just a little bit. Because I mean, when you're pitching, you want to go nice and easy, nice and slow. But for Chapman, it was almost too slow. So they sped him up. His control got better, and he dominated this year with a 1.51 ERA and saving 38.
He had a great season.
He had an unbelievable season. But I'm just not a fan of putting Chapman in the starting role and expect him to pitch 200 innings and try and carry a team. Besides, they have a great pitching staff right now with Johnny Cueto, Matt Latos, Homer Bailey, and Mike Leake.
Arroyo.
Who's proven.
Yeah. I think you can make my argument is this. I don't know of any teams who have an absolute ace as a starter.
Justin Verlander.
Okay. What I mean is, and they're not good.
They're
Johan Santana sometimes. I mean, there's been some.
There's been some.
There's been a lot.
But they didn't last long in there.
Yeah. They don't last. They end up going somewhere else.
Right.
I think you can have a great closer and your team's not that good. They don't get as many save opportunities maybe if the team's not playing well. Maybe the Reds could have Aroldis Chapman as their closer next year.
Mm-hmm.
And they could be really disappointing.
Right.
And he could have a great season.
Right.
That's not the case if he's a good starter or a great starter.
Mm-hmm.
If he's a great starter, it's very likely that they're going to win the NL Central again.
Based on one pitcher?
I think that it's very likely, since they have a strong rotation overall, that you can't.
I think they have a strong. You
can't have too many aces, man.
Well, I'm not disputing that, but assuming they put Chapman into the starting rotation, that means you would most likely have Cueto, Latos, Chapman, and Homer Bailey, and then a coin flip between Arroyo and Mike Leake.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no room to put them. Plus the fact that they've got guys like Tony Sangrani coming up through the farm system who actually played at the end of the year and pitched very damn well. But we've got about 3 minutes left. I want to get to some random news that's happening around in case you did not see or hear in the past couple of days, because it's been all over ESPN. The Lakers have fired Mike Brown.
That's right. Yep.
That is very interesting. That's the second superstar that has cost Mike Brown his job. LeBron being the first one.
Yep. Who caused it this time?
Kobe, with his death stare. Today in sports history, here's something for you. Heavyweight Cassius Clay. I know you're a boxing guy, right?
I like the boxing.
Heavyweight Cassius Clay knocked out Floyd Patterson in Las Vegas. How about that?
It's good stuff.
Very interesting.
Floyd Patterson, you could say one of the more underrated, or you could even say he's overrated. Floyd Patterson had an interesting career, but I guess in '65, the formerly Cassius Clay knocked him out. So good stuff.
I want to get to a couple birthdays today.
All right.
Steve Young, great 49ers quarterback. Fuzzy Zoller, I love the first name. Probably not his first name, but I love it. Mark Sanchez's birthday today. Well, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be a great birthday present? Mark Sanchez gets benched during halftime, and Tim Tebow comes over, takes his job, and starts dominating. Today's Victor Cruz's birthday. He'll probably catch a couple touchdown passes against the weak Bengals secondary. And then Willie Parker.
Fast Willie. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing now. He had a short-lived but very successful career as a running back for the Steelers. I remember he was a stud for a couple years.
We got about a minute left here in the show. Once again, happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, special thanks to all the veterans out there. Without you, we wouldn't be here.
They're doing stuff that I would never do. I also want to give a congratulations to my father, who was inducted into the Lloyd Memorial High School Hall of Fame today.
He's a quarterback, wasn't he?
He was a quarterback.
Wonder how many touchdowns he threw in his career. Does he tell you about stuff like that all the time?
No, because I don't ask. Nor do I care.
My dad played high school basketball up in a Catholic high school, and he's the all-time leader in steals, and he's constantly reminding everybody of that. And
well, I know he had a couple college offers, but times were different back then. They didn't have the surgeries that they do now. But
been a great show. Thanks for coming in with us, Brad.
Hey, short notice. I had a lot of fun.
Definitely
this weekend. So this is the Weekend Sports Buzz. I am Brad Steen. Tyler Bloyd will be joining us next week to go along with Kelly Patrick and Mark Blankenbeger. We'll see you next week. This is the Weekend Sports Buzz.